Let's review the options. Which of these suggestions from Professor Smith do you think would have helped Elizabeth before she even started writing her paper? A. Finish all research before starting to write a draft. This is a very good suggestion. It encourages Elizabeth to separate the research process from the writing process and gives her some time to form her own ideas and opinion based on what she's learned. B. Take notes from your sources on a separate page or file to go back to later. This is also a good suggestion because it will help with citing sources in the paper. C. Write an outline for your essay to organize your research. Another great suggestion, to organize the structure of her paper and see where the research fits in. D. A combination of A, B, and C. This would have been the best answer for this question. So if the problem is plagiarism, the solution are tools to avoid plagiarism. These are the kind of notes that Professor Smith suggested that Elizabeth should start keeping during her research. Professor Smith thinks it's important to take notes during research and shows Elizabeth the note card method. On the note card, Elizabeth can write down bibliographic information about her source and paraphrase, get quotes, and write down her own comments. Note cards are just one example of taking notes. Taking notes takes a little bit of time but is helpful for understanding what you read. And it should make your writing paper easier because it's a low-stress way to trick yourself into starting writing a little bit about your topic before you're worried about how you're going to explain it in your final paper. Professor Smith suggests paraphrasing. Paraphrasing means putting someone else's thoughts in your own words. It's a great skill because it helps you understand what you've read. Here we are looking at a note card for a book. The student has information written down so they can cite the source. They also have P, Q, and C. P stands for paraphrasing, Q stands for quotes, and C stands for comments. The student has paraphrased the information they found in the book to read. Napoleon lost the Russian campaign because his troops lacked sufficient winter clothing. They wrote what they found in their own words. They paraphrased. Using your own thoughts. Your own thoughts are essential because in the end, they're what interests your professor. Distinguishing these from paraphrasing and quotations reduces the risks of unintentional plagiarism. Cite your sources. Whenever you refer to someone else's thoughts, whether it's in your own words or in theirs. We will cover this in more detail in the next section. These are the kind of notes that Professor Smith suggested Elizabeth should start keeping during her research. She also suggested that Elizabeth should write an outline for her essay before she starts to write so that she can figure out if she has all of the research she needs. Then she should stop reading new sources and stop doing research before she starts to write her first draft so that she's not likely to pull whole ideas, whole sentences, or whole paragraphs from what she's reading without really realizing it. By taking notes the way Professor Smith suggests, Elizabeth will be able to return to her notes where she has already started to digest her research and come up with her own ideas instead of relying on exactly the way her original sources explain things. What were some of the suggestions we just learned from Professor Smith? Enter your answer below and click Submit to see if you earned at least 80% for this section.